The humid, salt-heavy air of the Central Pacific was shattered at 3:14 local time as the persistent hum of the Hawaiian night was drowned out by the thunderous roar of Aegis ashore interceptors launching from the Pacific Missile Range facility on Kauai. Across the archipelago, the dark sky was instantly illuminated by dozens of brilliant white streaks, each marking the trajectory of a standard missile, 3 climbing into the upper atmosphere to meet an unprecedented, high-velocity threat. On the ground in Honolulu, the rhythmic crashing of the surf was replaced by the low-frequency rumble of multiple sonic booms as kinetic kill vehicles neutralized targets at the edge of space, creating ionized flashes visible from the shores of Maui to the cliffs of Molokai. Radars across the islands tracked 35 distinct high-velocity signatures cutting through the ionosphere at speeds exceeding Mach 5, creating glowing plasma trails that signaled the arrival of a new era of kinetic confrontation. This was not a localized technical malfunction or a scheduled training exercise. It was the largest concentrated hypersonic engagement in the history of modern warfare. According to state-run media from the primary actor, the launch was characterized as a sovereign defensive measures test, intended to demonstrate the total obsolescence of Western maritime dominance in the Pacific theater. Officials claimed that 35 hypersonic glide vehicles were deployed from mobile inland platforms, utilizing unpredictable, non-ballistic flight paths designed to bypass traditional terminal phase defenses by hugging the upper atmosphere. Military spokesman stated that the intended target was not the civilian population of Hawaii, but rather the strategic deep-water infrastructure and command nodes of Pearl Harbor and the Indo-Pacific Command Headquarters. The primary actor maintains that this action serves as a definitive symbolic warning, proving that the second island chain is no longer a sanctuary for American naval assets or strategic bombers. They stated that the successful deployment of these assets signifies a permanent shift in the regional balance of power, rendering existing carrier strike group configurations vulnerable to instantaneous neutralization from thousands of miles away. Iranian officials, moving in diplomatic lockstep with the primary actor, claimed that the monopoly of force in the Pacific has been broken and that the era of uncontested American projection is over. But the story quickly became far more complicated. Before we break down the specific telemetry of these cruise missile interceptions and the classified sensor data currently being analyzed by the Pentagon to determine the extent of the damage to the primary actor's launch platforms, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the latest dramatic developments shaping global geopolitics. We are committed to bringing you the most measured and expert analysis of these rapidly evolving events as the security architecture of the Pacific undergoes a fundamental and perhaps irreversible shift. And your support ensures we can continue to provide this depth of coverage during times of escalating international crisis. According to U.S. Indo-Pacific Command and Pentagon officials, the narrative of a test is a deliberate misrepresentation of what was an attempted decapitation strike against the core of American Pacific power. U.S. authorities stated that all 35 incoming threats were successfully intercepted by a combination of sea-based Aegis systems and terrestrial batteries, marking a perfect engagement rate that defies previous intelligence estimates regarding hypersonic invulnerability. Analysts noted that the defense relied on the integrated air and missile defense network, where forward-deployed satellite sensors in low Earth orbit provided real-time tracking data to interceptors before the targets even appeared on local Hawaiian radar. To understand the technical context, one must recognize how hypersonic glide vehicles function. Unlike traditional ballistic missiles that follow a predictable arc, these vehicles skip along the atmosphere, making them difficult to track with conventional microwave radar. According to U.S. media reports, the integration of infrared space-based sensors allowed for a continuous lock on the immense heat signatures generated by the missile's friction with the air, facilitating the mid-course interceptions. Between these narratives lies a complex reality that analysts are still working to understand. What does this mean for the stability of the Pacific? The answer is the total transformation of the world's most vital maritime theater. Hawaii carries such immense strategic weight because it serves as the headquarters of the United States Indo-Pacific Command, acting as the central nervous system for all American military operations spanning from the west coast of the U.S. to the eastern shores of Africa. The target, specifically the Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, functions as the primary logistical and repair hub for the Pacific Fleet's nuclear submarine force and carrier groups, as well as the key coordination point for the U.S. Air Force's stealth bomber fleet. By targeting this location, the primary actor is attempting to sever the logistical tether that allows the United States to project power into the South China Sea and the Taiwan Strait. If Hawaii's infrastructure were neutralized, the American response time to a regional conflict would increase from hours to weeks, effectively granting the primary actor a window of uncontested regional hegemony. The message was clear. The Central Pacific is no longer a rearguard zone, but the front line of a global struggle for dominance. The cascading consequences of this engagement began to ripple across the globe within minutes of the final interception, altering the security posture of every major power in the region. Immediate military reaction saw the Pentagon raising the DEFCON level for all Pacific-based assets to a state of high readiness, while 2 carrier strike groups were ordered to cease routine operations and adopt sprint velocities toward the Philippine Sea. Simultaneously, a massive fleet of B-21 Raider and B-52 bombers was observed departing from Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, signaling a high readiness posture for potential retaliatory strikes against the primary actor's inland launch sites. That spike in military posture has consequences far beyond the theater of operations. Regional governments in Tokyo, Seoul, and Canberra immediately convened emergency national security councils, with Japan announcing an immediate 15% increase in its own missile defense procurement budget to counter the hypersonic threat. In the Philippines, authorities moved to grant the United States expanded access to northern bases, citing the Hawaii attack as definitive proof that no regional partner is safe from the reach of high-velocity weaponry. The global market and economic reaction was instantaneous and severe, reflecting the fragility of the Trans-Pacific trade route. Brent crude prices surged by 12% in early trading as energy markets braced for a total disruption of Pacific shipping lanes, while the S&P 500 futures plummeted over 800 points on fears of a full-scale kinetic conflict. Insurance premiums for maritime cargo in the Pacific tripled within 4 hours, effectively halting non-essential trade between the Americas and Asia. Shipping costs climbed. Tech stocks cratered. Energy expenses surged. Diplomatic channels are currently operating under extreme duress, with the United Nations Security Council calling for an emergency session to prevent a total collapse of the international order. International pressure is mounting on both Washington and the primary actor to establish a hotline communication to avoid a miscalculation that could lead to nuclear escalation. Domestic political reaction in the United States has been a rare display of unified intensity. Leaders from both parties in Congress have called for the immediate implementation of Tier 4 sanctions, which would effectively decouple the 2 largest economies in the world. The primary actor maintains that the deployment of 35 hypersonic vehicles was a legitimate exercise of its technological sovereignty and a necessary response to American encirclement. The United States maintains that the event was an unprovoked act of aggression that has fundamentally altered the rules of engagement in the 21st century. As the debris from 35 neutralized hypersonic vehicles falls into the deep waters of the Pacific, the world is left to decipher the intent behind such a massive gamble. The transition from diplomatic competition to direct kinetic exchange has moved from a theoretical risk to a demonstrated reality. Will this interception remain an isolated incident, or is it the beginning of something far larger? Stay tuned for further updates as this situation continues to develop. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss the latest dramatic geopolitical developments shaping the world.